Hello, this is a demo video to show you experiment 1 in the Chateliers lab. I'm going to point out the reagents that we have in the hood here, and they will match up with what you have in your lab handout. I have 1 molar ferric nitrate, 1 molar potassium thiocyanate, and those are the 2 reagents that I'm going to use to create what's called the equilibrium system solution. So the lab handout has me adding 2 drops of each of these. And I will point out that this whole experiment is a qualitative experiment, so I will use some more precise measuring tools, but only because they're a little faster. So for this step with the drops, I'm just using a disposable pipette. 2 drops of iron. I'm just making sure there are no air bubbles at the bottom here. And I don't know if you could see, there was an immediate color change at the bottom where the 2 drops of each of those solutions mixed. The protocol also has us add 30 mils of water to this mixture, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I just give it a good swirl to get it mixed, and I'm going to try to hold things up with a white index card just so you're looking at them for your observations with a similar background. All right, once we have our equilibrium solution made, we want to dispense 6 mils of this in each of our test condition containers. I'm using test tubes for those. So just for speed, I'm going to go ahead and use a pipette to do that. So this is a 5 ml pipette. So I'm just gonna add 5 mils to each of those. And once again, the experiment doesn't really require the precision of this pipette, but it's just a little quicker for me to do it this way. And then because we want 6 mils, I'm going to add another, to check my volume here, it was not set to 1. All right, we're good to go. 1 milliliter into each of those. Okay, so we're ready to move on to step 1A in the procedure. So I'm going to grab my test tube that's labeled 1A, and that requires me to add a milliliter of the iron solution to it. So to do that, I'm just going to use the disposable pipette and look for roughly the 1 milliliter mark. So again, the 1 milliliter was just with 1 sig fig, so it was not a precise addition. So I'm going to use the disposable pipette for that. So hopefully as I'm dropping this in, you're able to see the visual change. And just to make it more clear, I'm going to also hold up my index card. So as a comparison, you can look at what the original solution looked like, and then the green label is after the addition. Alright, so that was 1A. 1B is the addition of 1 milliliter of the potassium thiocyanate. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And once again, just look for the little marking on here for the 1 ml. Alright, so here is my addition for step 1B. So once again, I will hold up the white index card so you can take a look at it, and it might be helpful for you to compare this with 1A. So I'll hold those two up. So 1A again is where the 1 milliliter of iron was added. So that's this one here in green label. And then the 1B is where 1 milliliter of the potassium thiocyanate were added. So once again, you can take a quick comparison between these two test tubes. All right, so now we are ready for step 1C. So that is where I am adding a different reagent. So I'm going to move my original ones out of the way and grab what I'm adding at this point, which is the 2 molar sodium hydroxide. My dropper pipette in there. And the instructions are a bit vague. They say to add 1 milliliter of the sodium hydroxide at a time until you see a change. So that's what I will do. So you can see a pretty obvious visual change as I'm adding in the solution. Go ahead and add in the entirety of the 1 ml. And we're looking for the formation of potentially small flecks in the test tube or a precipitate. So it looks a little cloudy to me, but I'm going to add a little more just to see if we can see more of that precipitate formation. Maybe one more addition. All right, so I can see this, but I'm not sure how well the camera will pick it up. So I'm going to bring it up closer to the camera and just point out that there's little specks in there that are dispersed all throughout the solution. So even when you're doing this in person, it's a little hard to see the murkiness that's in there. So sometimes what I recommend students do is to take this, and we're done with the experiment, so I'm going to just add this to my original equilibrium solution where there's a larger volume so you can see that precipitate hopefully form a little more clearly. So hopefully in this larger volume you can see the graininess of it and the formation of some of that precipitate, making the solution cloudy. All right, so those are the steps for the first experiment in Le Chatelier's lab. So we did steps 1A, 1B, and 1C here.